My lazy husband told me to get off my ass 2 days after giving birth and cook for his parents. I was sitting in the nursery at 2 in the afternoon, still in the same pajamas from the hospital. My body was still recovering from the delivery, and even sitting up was painful. Every time I stood up, my stitches pulled and I had to grip the wall to keep from passing out. Our daughter was 48 hours old, and I hadn't slept more than 20 minutes at a time since we got home. He walked in while I was trying to get her to latch. She'd been crying for 45 minutes, and I was in so much pain from breastfeeding I could barely keep it together. He didn't ask if I was okay or if I needed anything. He just said his parents were coming over at 6, and I needed to make his mom's pot roast, the one that takes 4 hours, with the garlic mashed potatoes and the green beans she likes and homemade rolls. I looked up at him thinking he was joking. He wasn't smiling. I said I can barely walk to the bathroom without wanting to scream. Every time I stood, I felt like my whole body was tearing apart. He got this annoyed look on his face like I was being dramatic. That's when he said it. You've been sitting around for 2 days doing nothing. I need you to get off your lazy ass and act like a wife. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the baby. I asked him if he was serious right now. He said his parents drove 2 hours to meet their granddaughter, and the least I could do was feed them a decent meal. I told him I physically could not stand at the stove for 4 hours. My doctor said my body was still healing from the delivery, and it would take 6 weeks before I could do anything strenuous. He actually rolled his eyes at me, said every woman goes through this, and they all managed to cook dinner, that his mom had 5 kids and never complained once. Then he walked out. I sat there holding our screaming baby, trying not to have a complete breakdown. An hour later, I heard voices downstairs. His parents had shown up 3 hours early with grocery bags. I heard his mom asking where I was, and him saying I was upstairs resting like I'd been doing all day, like I was being lazy. I was trying to change the baby's diaper when his mom knocked softly and came in. She took one look at me, and her whole face changed. She asked what was wrong. I just broke down, told her everything he said, how he called me lazy, how he demanded I cook for hours when I could barely stand, how he'd been acting weird and distant since we came home from the hospital, how he hadn't held the baby once without me asking him to. She went completely white, didn't say a word, just turned around and went back downstairs. I heard her screaming at him. I'd never heard her raise her voice before in the 3 years I'd known her. She was asking him what the hell was wrong with him. Why would he tell me she wanted pot roast when she never said that? Why would he lie about something like that? He tried to defend himself, but she cut him off. She said she brought Chinese takeout specifically so I wouldn't have to cook, that she remembered how hard those first few days were, how she could barely sit down after her first baby. His dad came upstairs and asked if he could hold the baby. His hands were gentle and he had tears in his eyes. He apologized for raising a son who would treat his wife like this 48 hours after giving birth. Downstairs, his mom was still going. She found out he'd made the whole dinner thing up because he was mad I wasn't paying attention to him anymore. He actually admitted he thought having a baby would be different, that I'd still have time for him, that I'd still want to be physical again soon. His dad handed me the baby and went downstairs. I heard him tell my husband to pack a bag, that he raised him better than this, and until he figured out how to be a man, he wasn't welcome in this house. My husband tried to argue, said I was exaggerating. His dad said if he said one more word, he'd throw his stuff on the lawn himself. His mom came back up with the Chinese food and sat with me while I ate. She set up the bassinet and changed the baby while I took my first real shower in 3 days. She even washed my hair for me because I couldn't lift my arms above my head. His dad carried his duffel bag to the car. I watched from the window as my husband got in and drove away. That was a week ago. He's been calling from his friend's couch every single day, leaving voicemails saying I overreacted, that his parents turned on him, that everyone's being dramatic, and I'm keeping his daughter from him. His mom texts me every morning asking how we slept. She came over yesterday with groceries and meal prep containers, held the baby while I napped for 4 hours. His dad called last night, said his son needs to grovel on his knees before he's allowed back in this house, said any man who calls his postpartum wife lazy doesn't deserve to be called a father. I'm not answering my husband's calls anymore. His mom said I can stay here as long as I need to.